Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritism at Noon. We have today a very special lesson from the Spirit Joanna de Angelis through the psychography of Divaldo Franco in the book that is called A Full Life. We are going to be starting with chapter one. Last time we started with the introduction, and today we have this chapter that is actually, to me particularly, a very special chapter that helps us, in consolidating what we have been studying first in the book that we studied from her empty lives, and now how she shows us that understanding how hard it is for us to go through this transition, because it's not easy for us to to go through this growing pains of immortality. uh, how she starts this chapter by saying, be faithful to the end. So, as always, I'm going to start reading, and you are all invited to comment, to ask questions, and participate in our study. So, chapter one, be faithful to the end. No matter how perturbing and afflictive your relationships with other people may be, persevere with your higher ideals and existential goals. Do not expect others to understand and concur with your undertaking, because your work is about liberation from ignorance and cruelty. Although either consciously or subconsciously, you expect understanding and help because you work for the good of the community. Maybe they are not interested in what fascinates you, and they are not obligated in any case. Theirs is a different destiny. They stand next to you, but they pursue their own aspirations. They are looking for different ways to live. Some of them like you, but that does not mean that they have an obligation with what you do or love. It is the same for you in relation to them. Ever since you began to ponder Jesus' teachings, you understood the error in which you lived. You understood the need to make inner change and to offer the liberating knowledge to everyone with the expectation of being well received. A big mistake, a product of your naivety. Each being has its own destiny, which, however, is no reason to turn against you and try to crucify you. I think it's so important, the words of Joanna de Angelis here, because she's basically trying to tell us that each one of us have our own pace. And of course, we know we have our choices and we have our time, to grow and sprout from the seed to a flower, all of that. And but sometimes, I mean, it happens to everyone, right? We need validation. So if I think one way, a certain way, I want everyone around me to think the same, because then there is going to be a validation of my ideas, telling me I'm right. And of course, my pride, my vanity will feed on that. Here, of course, it's not the case when we start talking about spiritual pursuit and enlightenment, but seeing how much it transforms us and how much good is doing to us to have this knowledge, this understanding, this extra strength. We want others to have the same tools, to have the same understanding as we have. And she says here clearly, it's not because they live next to you, sometimes under the same roof, that they will have the same goals, the same aspirations, the same understanding, level of understanding that you have already reached. What should we do then? To keep on telling them, oh, one day you're going to learn and you're going to be like me, right? uh, or we are going to be patient and more thinking like, oh my God, one day I was like you. And thank God I'm no longer in this place. You say to yourself, right? I have more understanding now because it's making my life better. It's making me more capable of enduring whatever life presents to us. So this is, as she says here, since we began to ponder more in Jesus' words and, all this knowledge that we have about immortality, reincarnation, we want to, of course, to transform the world. But this is a big mistake, she says. It's us being naive because I sometimes I ponder, I imagine how many people, let's call them people, spirits, okay, whatever, have been already working with me, trying to bring me to where I am today in previous life. And I could not do it. It is thanks to them not giving up on me that I am what I am today. I mean, of course, it's still a long way to go, but so we should continue in our path, not because we want to impress others, not because we will think that we have a, more ability of bargaining with God. Oh, I'm being a good person now. Don't send bad things to me, or because we want to impact the lives of others in a way that miraculously they are going to be transforming. We have that in the first communications that we have from the spirits with Kardec and the Spiritist Review. I don't remember quite well what article and year it is. I mean, we are talking about 6,000 pages or more. But the spirits, one of the common questions is why the spirits do not just show themselves and then everyone is going to be convinced, right? And the spirit says it wouldn't work. Immediately, people would think that there was something wrong. It was an hallucination. It's a collective hallucination, whatever. Uh, and they would change. I don't know if you had the chance to watch this new series that Netflix is showing about the life of Moses. It's just 3 episodes. And when I watch a series like that, I really like to pay attention, and it's not just entertainment. It's an object of study for me. And I was looking at the people that Moses had to liberate and help in the cross in the desert. As soon as God, they are there before the Red Sea, behind them, the huge troop of Moses, the pharaohs, the and I mean, they had no way to go. It seemed that inevitably they were all going to die. They had no place to run. There was a sea in front of them, and all of a sudden, let's say how this history, the story tells us, the sea is parted. They cross the sea, which closes when the Egyptians come after them. So they are all saved. Now they are on the other side of the margin, and half a mile later, they are already complaining. But now we don't have anything to eat. What is going to happen to us? I mean, for God's sake, God has just parted the sea for them to go through. Have a little faith, right? And it's all like that, and it's like us, okay? It seems that we have received so many blessings in our lives, and all the time we are complaining. Why can't be there be more? Why is this happening now? And and this is what she's saying here, you know, for us to be have this more faith and be more reasonable. And even in this case here, this first paragraphs where she says, oh, so she's inviting us to have faith on people and not force them. Having said that, it doesn't mean that we have to hide the light. Every now and then, we will try and keep on trying to show them the way, but always respecting their own time, but not being, you know, in a position where we will be saying that we gave up. Every time we are going to be renewing the invitation like Jesus did with us or is doing with us, renewing the invitation. Are you ready to come now? Are you ready to start this new path now? Go ahead, Marcelle.
This happens here in my house. Every Monday we do the gospel in family. My kids, like me, they believe more, I think. Seems like, and my husband not so much. But they are my kids. I need uh, to to talk to them about this. I think it's my responsibility. So yesterday we were talking about kind of words because we are reading the gospel, and he like this seems like magic, and I say shh, shh. If you don't believe, your problem, but they are my kids. This is my responsibility. If you don't have other options, other religion, so shh, shh. And I will say, and one day they could choose, say, okay, this I can believe in this that mommy talked before, but mommy talked something. I think we need to give them some basis. I didn't have, and this is not good for me. So now I think at least I will give them some base, and one day they can say, okay, I don't care, or I love, I continue studying. So I not, but Fabio, my husband, continue like listening. So I think something is is going inside his mind. Something is changed, but he doesn't say, okay, okay. But it is, I don't say you need to believe. He's just there, and the kids say, Dad, you need to pay attention. Dad, you need to say something. Not me. Never, not me.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like she says here, each one has its own destiny. There is no reason to turn against you and to try to crucify you. So if you have nothing to say, just keep quiet and
Yes.
respect. Right? In a way, it's already a blessing that there is no clash of beliefs. Um, because if there was the case, both would have to respect the education of the children to be in both faiths, so they would decide for themselves later. But it is the obligation, and the more we understand about that, I remember there is one book that I read from this José Herculano Pires, where he says a great spiritist in Brazil years ago. He passed already. that he said sometimes parents are so oblivious to the spiritist education of their children because they say, oh, when they grow up, they will decide for themselves. But we don't do that in terms of education in school, right? We don't say, oh, when you're older, you decide whether you want to learn to read and write and do math or this or that. We know that this is crucial to their survival. And what about how crucial it is for us to have a good basis in terms of spiritual knowledge, whatever this one is, that is going to help us to cope with the so many struggles that we go, adversities that we go through life that can really affect us emotionally, psychologically, and of course, spiritually speaking as well. So it is our obligation to do that. But sometimes, Marcel, those people that are very rational and, fit on earth, um, when they awaken, they are sometimes the best workers, dedicated workers that we will find. It's like, I had to take my time. I had to be sure of it. I mean, there was need for me to have, the maturity that I needed, and then they go like and
No, for
say, come
sure.
on to you.
When he decides to talk, to comment the part that we read, it's unbelievable. It's another way thinking, and I never thought before. So, so I know he has, but he needs to doesn't show that he's believing, or he needs to show that I am more. This is our life. We don't need to think about future. This is our life. It's the way that he is. I understand, but I need to talk about this kind of things to my kids because I know the challenge will come, and this will help them to live better than I live it in my age. But it's funny.
Absolutely. That, like she says here, uh, do not be dismayed or discouraged to keep on doing what you already know you have to be doing because others, and sometimes very significant others that are next to you, not necessarily commune with the same ideas, the same aspirations. Everyone will have their time, and this sometimes it seems like almost like uh, we don't care, but I think the more experience we have in this case, the more we understand that, I mean, I cannot make a machine work if I don't have the electricity to do that. With time, the electricity will reach their area, but it's not yet, right? And but again, like I said before, it doesn't mean that because of that we just live there in their corners and not keeping constantly offering a bad meal, let's say. You keep on giving junk food to your children or to your family, but one day every now and then you will feel like they just wanted to eat junk food, and then you will say no, at least once a week you are going to eat proper food, until they realize that it's so much better to have proper food every time and not just be eating that what they used to. It's just very simple comparison. So let's keep on reading now. You felt the excellence of the peace that you so much needed, even if you could not clearly identify it. You have experienced the tediousness that living in error produces, the intense discomfort showing the pointlessness of certain pleasures that do more harm than good and never deliver peace. When you saw the damage resulting from your wrongful acts, instead of engaging in reflection to make reparations, you dove even deeper into the somber and intoxicating pleasures of the senses, losing your ability to discern. You were not familiar with Jesus' messages, or rather, you knew about it, but never took the time to examine its marvelous content. You heard people talking about it, but you did not understand the power it has to change the structure of ordinary thought and provide lucidity for a serene and dignified existence. When you finally understood it, as revealed by the immortal spirits who came to attest to afterlife's inherent plenitude, the veil was lifted from your eyes and you saw life's luminous greatness, which you previously regarded as heavy and gloomy. Thus, it is natural that you are a target of discrimination and suspicion, the same way you discriminated against and were suspicious about those who embraced abnegation and worked of self illumination. All missionaries of the good, love, and knowledge build their ideals with the mortar of tears, exile, the torments imposed on them, or even harsher testimonies. So here she's, giving a glimpse of what we've been doing so far in previous incarnations. Uh, we went to one mistake to another, and when we had to confront ourselves with the consequences of our misdeeds, instead of trying to use that possibility to grow anew, to do differently, it's like we said, oh my god, I already messed up, so a little more is not going to make a difference. So this is what many people think until today. I'm already labeled as something, so let make people right. No, make people believe that there is a way of renewal, that this is possible, and that even us that have been, committing serious misjudgments in relation to our actions in the past, we can and we should change ourselves. Uh, then one thing that she says that is very sad and true is not that we, for 2,000 years, we haven't heard about Jesus, about his teachings, having had the opportunity of following this pathway. Probably many of us have even followed this path, but use it to our own interests, like we hear in the story of the so many religions that came after Christ, in the sense that we use that for power, for wealth, for our own benefit. So here she says, we knew about it, but we stayed on the surface. We never got that deep into the thoughts and the teachings, and especially the examples. So now is finally, the time, at least for us that are here gathering, and people that are, searching as well for the same kind of enlightenment. Now we are understanding. Now we know we are mortal spirits. Now we know that there is a goal for us to reach, which is, to improve ourselves uh, all the time. And of course, we make people uncomfortable. because you are, people like this are constantly a reminder to us that we have to try more, that we have to do better, and that is possible. It's so easy when we find validation for our mistakes in other people's mistakes. But when we look at someone that uh, goes in a different path, one that reflects the self-work, the self-transformation, it is a constant reminder, in our conscience that we have to do something about it. So the first thing that the way that are people going to react is, oh, but this is you're silly in forgiving this person. You're silly in continue practicing good to people that do not even recognize your efforts. You're silly to sacrifice your days just because you have to help in your spiritual community or so. um and this is their way of trying to protect themselves so that they do not have to look deep into themselves and recognize that sooner or later they will also have to take steps into the direction. And the thing here is that she says that there are no, especially those that are going to be, spreading the word or more active, not necessarily through words, because it's more examples and it's not necessarily words. And we're not talking about just the orators or something, but in spreading the words, meaning in each and every way, like St. Francis of Assisi used to say, preach the gospel and use the words with if necessary. So it's not about just using the words. um we will find adversity. When you look at the life, for instance, of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and recently there were in the movies here the life of Saint Francis Cabrini. I mean, the resistance that they both found in the church itself for them to conduct words of charity on the part of their, you know, nuns, colleagues of faith. It's incredible, right? I mean, there is no way we will go through that without at least being misunderstood or criticized by others. But what it comes to a point that we have to ask ourselves, what is really important? Am I worried about the judgment of the world or my self judgment and God's? So, any question or comments? Yes, Anya?
Yes. All my education was inside the Catholic school. Then I always be in touch with wonderful Jesus lessons. But in my mind, that lessons were for people involved with religions. I only start learning when the first day I went for Spirit Center. Then at the lessons, I need to practice this in myself. Then when we start reading things, I can see myself step by step in this way. And I understand why when I learned this lesson, like 30 years ago, I was so changed. And I really would like to share with the others and show the way for the others the same the same way. In that time, I discovered the new behavior. Man, so naive, so naive. And now I understand the same. I need time to be in touch with this truth, the same way people need this time. Easy. No, it's not easy to watch people close to us have mistake and they repeat the same mistake, and difficult to learn this. I try to teach them. I always use the words and the gospel to show them, but if they still blind, I'm not disappointed anymore. It's not something that deeply myself. Of course, in my surface, I feel disappointed a little bit, but still working. Pray for this person to have this opportunity the same way I had many years ago.
You said something so important, Sonia. It made me reflect. I was also, until high school, I studied in Catholic schools, and I mean, it was very good with me because I always loved religion and all that, and I could learn so many things. I was always interested. But like we were talking here, in terms of Joanna de Angelis says, to really took the time to examine the content, the marvelous content. And I think, having been part of this community, even though very early I started going to the Spiritist Center as well, I think that I mean, from my perspective, is that in many cases, uh, it's like it's not our responsibility. It's God's decision, is, my destiny. And there is not much what I can do except from, attending the services and praying and asking God and this or that, but never deeply examining uh, that it's 100% our responsibility. Is like, I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me, you have diabetes. You say, okay, so, do your things and heal me, without me participating in the healing. And he will say, it's impossible. I can make a diagnosis. I can give you the diagnosis. I can show you the way for you to, to heal yourself, or at least not to feel the weight of the illness so heavily in your body. But I am the one that has to do that. And I think, when we go to the Spiritism, and this is why it is so hard for people to engage, you have to completely transition from, it's God responsibility and fairness, how life is unfair with me, to you being 100% responsible for everything. I don't want to hear that. And this is how, why many people, even when they go and they they realize that this is the truth, it is so hard for them to embrace it, or to be engaged in something that is going to be a constant reminder uh, for them that they have to change. I mean, now the image that came to my mind is the image of a mother. I mean, children love their mother. But of course, they get tired when they have to constantly say, have you done your homework? Come on, wake up. You're going to be late to school. Brush your teeth. Take your coat. It's cold outside. You are not eating properly. All those things. There are constantly reminder because we care for them. It's really something that if they could choose, they would say, I don't want that, you know. But of course, they will not take responsibility until perhaps you would say, okay, I don't care. If you miss the school, it's your problem. You're going to have to do the same degree, the same year again, or you were starving. It's not my responsibility. Go there and cook and feed you. Maybe then they will try to take control. But you see, this is the process of pain. They go through the process of pain. Now that my mother doesn't care for me, I have to do all by myself. I have to, do my bed, do my chores, cook my food, wake myself up, remember that I have to brush my teeth, otherwise I will have cavities and I will have problems, all those things. And sometimes only going through that, they will say, you know what? I have to own it. I and and I think this is the case, and this is why it is so hard, because it really requires from us to live under a different paradigm, different perspective. Uh, God is there offering, but if I'm not uh, accepting the offers, if I decide to go through a different way, a different path that seems to be easier, I'll have to deal with the consequences. And I think you made a very good analysis in this case, because it's everyone is in a very passive position, instead of thinking, these are not just, teachings of a life that we admire so much. Look what Jesus was capable of doing. He was the first to say, you can do that and much more. You're God as well. There is the potential in you, in each one of you. And there are philosophies, like it is the case with Spiritism, that will bring you this reality. And it's not easy to deal with that. It's the growing up, the maturity of the spirit. Let me see how much we have here. We still have
because Jesus' lessons are alive.
Yeah.
Alive. Then it's not just words printed on the book, but when we live these, it's like amazing experience in our life.
And you see, it's very much like, when we are used to just repeat the words. So we know a prayer, we say it by heart, but not with using the heart, right? We memorize the words and we do not reflect about it. Just this weekend, I was watching a talk, and the person was saying that because of someone that was commenting about exactly how to pray, and the prayers we know, and prayers that could be essential to us, although we know that the best form of prayer is really to pray with our heart, with our full attention. And that she all of a sudden started, you know, thinking and praying the Lord's Prayer. And when she said, Holy Father, who she thought oh my God, a holy father of ours, right? Is my father, is your father, is everyone's father, is the father of the criminal, is the father of the ones that are still, in very low levels of spirituality. It's the father of every spirit in the entire universe. We see how each word should evoke in our minds something that inspire this grandiosity of the creator and the universe. And many times we just go there and stay with the repetitions and not even putting our thoughts, much less our hearts, into that. And of course, we can do that in spiritism as well. Many people just go to spiritist centers to receive passes, right? The laying on of hands, because they say, "Oh no, this is what is going to heal me," uh, you know, and not understanding that, yeah, you are going to get better, but if you go outside and start doing the same thing again, it's not going to happen. And and I think this is, this faithfulness that she evokes from us here, being faithful to the end, um, has everything to do with that, in awakening this noble emotion that there is no reason to doubt. And there is no reason to doubt that there is a reason behind everything. And that even if things are not going your way now, it doesn't mean that they are not going to change. We ourselves have gone through so much already, and we have overcome all of this. And now maybe new challenges are presented to us, but it doesn't mean that they are not going to go away. And like you said, when we finally get into this realization, which doesn't mean that we are there yet, right? Now we are trying our best to do our best. Um, we want to convince others. We wanted to show others, listen, there is a better way. Stop going, repeating something that you know that is not going to work and is only going to bring you suffering. Go through a different path. And this is when she has, it's sometimes it's naive of us. It's not lack of charity. It's just respect to the time of each person and having compassion for them. Because, like Jesus said, Father, forgive them because they do not know what they're doing. They do not know what they're doing. To them, they have a different set of values that we already have. And of course, there are others that are so much ahead of us that will think the same about us. Oh, poor them. They are still lingering in so much shadow. Well, you should have seen before. Right. Ah. So this is what we are doing, and this is what we are trying to do. I wouldn't like to rush, trying to do this other page. Unless you say if it is okay, we go ahead and just read it, and let's see what we can comment. Okay. Okay. Do not allow yourself discouragement or fear when you suffer aggressions at the hands of those caught up in the delusion of temporal power, or those who are invested in pointless pursuits. You must set an example of faith, attesting to your ability to promote the truth. When we want to plant a garden or an orchard, oh, okay, there is a repetition here, sorry. When we want to plant a garden or an orchard, the initial work is always challenging. At the time of planting, new dangers arise, which must be overcome by the fragile plantings and their caretakers. Time and perseverance are necessary for the plants and trees to succeed. Trust in your efforts and in the divine providence, which is always watchful and ready to help those who put themselves in its hands. History is full of exciting lessons that teach the value of remaining loyal to one's ideals. So here, it's very important this comparison that she says when you start planting a garden or an orchard, there will be challenging. Things are not going to happen overnight. You are going to be taking care of it, and then finally it's going to come. It's the same thing in terms of us and how we start this work of stereo transformation. And then she is going to bring us some examples in history that tells us about it. To reach the glory of immortality, Abraham Lincoln ran for prominent political positions several times and never won. But because he did not give up, he became the president of his country. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves, lived through the terrible American Civil War, and paid with his life for the courage to love and serve his country. It's interesting when you think about it, we were talking about the right time. Maybe if he had won before, the circumstances were still not in place for him to succeed like he did before, even paying with his own life. Young minister Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream. He wanted to end discrimination against his brothers and sisters of African descent, and for that he was killed. Despite the many honors he received during his lifetime, he experienced unimaginable anguish. Jesus' disciples, who went out to teach and live the gospel, were persecuted, viciously slandered, and finally martyred through unspeakable sacrifice for the ideal. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned and abandoned for almost 3 decades while trying to free his people. Sick with tuberculosis and showered with sarcasm for his efforts, Pasteur continued to search for airborne microorganisms, opening new horizons in medical science. On the earth, no apostle of the good has ever been the exception. For society to enjoy comfort and well being, abject slavery and deadly wars took place. Do your part, just as it was with all martyrs and idealists, past and present. Your triumph, you will not arrive today. Insist and be willing to neutralize the darts of ill will and ingratitude with smiles. Nothing defeats love, which is the most active living force in the universe. Continue to love even when disheartened. The guardian angels that look after you and humanity's destiny remain watchful and active by your side. Invisible, but not ineffectual, they comfort you during hard times, encourage you to go on, and give you strength in the name of the friend on the cross who's resurrected so that you would be faithful to the end. I think so beautiful. um, so, yeah, it's part of the process. Being change makers um, require dedication, require understanding that perhaps the world is not going to applaud and to understand the value of what we are doing today, but this is what we have to do. But above all, what I think so important that she says is that even when we are going through, you know, this difficult times of peeling the layers that still keeps us so attached to materiality and distancing ourselves from what we are and represent as immortal spirits, it doesn't mean that we do not have protection. It doesn't mean that guardian angels and spirits that are working for the spiritual involvement of the citizens of our planet are not, carefully watching us and helping us and even preventing us to get into troubles that are remainings of our own imperfections. So we have to keep our faith till the end. Any comment or question?
It's
Yeah.
very interesting to know everything, everyone has the right time to start to work in this process. When she mentioned about many examples, history examples here, and like Martin Luther King, and everyone had the right time to start, to give towards the example. And we always want the right time, reactions, and everything. Now, many times, what we need to do is to know how to work and use the time in our favor.
Yeah. Even when we think about ourselves, right? How many times we get disappointed with ourselves because we tell ourselves, oh my God, why did I do that? Or thought about it because I know better. But, you know, it's part of the process. The only thing here is we should be faithful to the end. We should not give up just because you're not having the results in yourself and of course in others that you want to see immediately. It doesn't mean that we should give up on us and give up on them and the world. Yeah, there are so many tragic things going around, but there are so many good things going around as well, and much more than the bad things. So let us praise the good things and let us join efforts with them, and let's keep up doing the good work, right? Okay, anything? All right.